Big Burb. Big Bad Burb.
Welcome to the Big Burb channel. I was only upstairs for 10 minutes.
Hey, I don't get paid to think.
Well, not for this job anyways.
For somebody who is not mechanically minded, it has been a little bit of, hey, look at this engine, but now things are starting to come together, or rather come apart, so that they can come together in a better way. And it feels like things are taking a pretty good jump forward. I know right now that it's really about the mechanics and, well, from my perspective, learning about exactly what's going on, but I can already start to see what it's going to be like when we can take this thing out and start having fun.
And that is no understatement. Trying to get me interested about the nuts and bolts of vehicular mechanics is like me trying to explain astrophysical high-energy density plasma to Rocky. Lucky for us, Rocky really knows what he's doing on the other side.
Big day at the shop here. Got a couple things going on today. The engine's finished, and we're about to pull the Suburban into the shop. Hey everyone. This is the shot of the engine all complete. As you can see, got some nice billet pieces on there. Got the high mount AC relocation kit. As I mentioned before, you can see that this engine was previously rebuilt. The new gaskets. Someone even was wrenching on the P-pump. You can see right here just the exposed metal. So located right behind here is the killer dowel pin. This right here is the weakest link of the whole truck. This pin is known to vibrate right out, and you can be lucky enough to where it can go through the whole maze of the engine and fall out right over your oil pan, or you can be unlucky enough and it pretty much blows everything up. There's a little washer that you install right behind here that holds that pin down, and we'll show you some photos up in the right hand corner that explains a little bit more for better examples. This high mount relocation kit allows you not to notch the frame, which requires most people to take a big chunk out of it, which we're trying to avoid. As you come around the back, you can see the billet tappet cover. On the screen in front of me, you can see the build list so far. Yeah, pretty scary, huh? Well, don't be too scared, because 2 vehicles were included in this. However, if you look down the list, you can see just in parts, I'm at $7,718.94. Yowza. And then if you look at the labor, I'm at $2,227.50 for a build total of $9,946.44. However, remember, some of this cost is me being a little thorough. You didn't have to spend the $2,838.44 to go through the entire motor, but this was something I wanted to do to make sure it was reliable for me and my family. And hey, you see my wife. She's not going to let me park it on the driveway if it's leaking oil. Once we get the Suburban in the shop, we'll start pulling the body off the frame. The Burb's coming in. As you can see, the Burb's in the shop, and now the real fun begins. This is the last you'll be seeing of this engine. Let's see what Nostradamus is up to now.
That explains!
Still not loving that soundbite, Rocky. So in terms of an EMP-proof mode of transportation, or EMP-proof electronics of any kind, for any reason, whether it's a solar superstorm, a stratospheric nuclear detonation, or even a lightning strike, one of your best options is a Faraday cage. A Faraday cage can be made in about 1,000 different ways, and far more variety of sizes. The idea is to put the object you want to protect within a conductive enclosure that will attract the current and redirect it around the object and down into the ground. Some of the displays from the times of Nikola Tesla to modern university labs and performance art, it really works, and it can be quite visually stunning. It can be sophisticated or simple, as long as it's going to enclose, conduct, and ground it out. At the end of the day, the physics aren't all that unlike a lightning rod protecting a building.
What's so rare about the Suburban is that it's a square body Chevy with the round headlights. It's 1979, so it's the last year to make the round headlights. This front end style of this truck has a very classic look, which would be very cool to restore. It is one of my favorite front ends that I've seen on any truck.
We've been talking a lot about the engine, but if that's, even if you go with a mechanical injection, you do a lot of things, there's still some stuff on a vehicle that is vulnerable in an EMP. What is our plan for the Big Burb on that stuff, and are there other ways to do this if people are going with a different vehicle or something like that?
Well, obviously the starter in this motor is going to be your biggest thing. You're going to want to keep an extra one of those, build a Faraday cage, throw one of those in there. But in our route, we're not going to need an electric starter. And we technically will be able to take a battery out of this truck and start it.
Now, how does that work exactly?
We're going to get an air starter.
I don't even know, what is required to remove and, fix some of these things. Like, if you're on the road somewhere, if you're not near a shop and you get hit with an EMP, is this the kind of stuff where you would need a shop to fix this? Or is this the kind of stuff that, you and a buddy could do?
Well, you and a buddy can do an alternator easily, but an alternator only runs accessories. So technically you don't need an alternator to run. The biggest thing is you're going to need to replace that starter, which is going to be the biggest pain, where that's what we're eliminating with the air starter.
Let's say that we weren't putting in an air starter and we were going with, hey, we're going to hope the starter doesn't go in an EMP event, but we're going to have a backup anyway. What's it like changing a starter? Is that something that one person can do, or?
It's a one-person job. I mean, it'll take an hour or two depending on your experience.
I'm sure there's probably other things that might be vulnerable, but...
Well, your headlights, any 12-volt accessory could be vulnerable. But the biggest thing is you technically don't need your headlights to run a car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a luxury. So
obviously you don't need radio and air conditioning and power windows and every other thing like that. So that's a good point. I was reading some of the comments and love your answers to them, and I think that it'd be great if everybody could sort of hear this stuff. There are people who are suggesting, hey, what about even other motors? And we sort of had a class of motor that could do a certain thing. There are other options. Do you want to just maybe address that question? And
yeah, I mean, in all simplicity, this is the disaster vehicle. And so, being a disaster vehicle, we are looking at a couple things, horsepower, towability, and reliability.
Horsepower, towability, and reliability.
Correct.
Okay.
And a lot of those motors that most people mentioned were great motors. I'm not going to diss them at all. I'd probably drive them as well. It's just, when it comes to towing, that's what really made the difference.
So let's say towing is out of the picture. What would be, whether it's something that pops into your head or one of the ones you saw mentioned in the comments, just what's one of those smaller motors that comes to mind that could work in the same way that, the 12-valve Cummins does?
Well, the Toyota that has the Helix engine, that one will work, yes.
Cool.
But like I said, you just can't really tow anything over, 5,000, 6,000 pounds in those things.
And remind me, what's the Burb going to be able to tow?
I'm pushing for 20,000.
Fantastic. In addition to the idea of you want to make this thing EMP proof as possible, and it doesn't hurt to have some backup components, there's other aspects to something being a disaster vehicle. And I think that one of the most important aspects of the Burb that you've shown me so far is this slide out feature that'll come out of the barn doors. You started to work on some of the designs for this, and I don't necessarily want to go into all the things we're going to put on it, because that's a lot of the would be nice to have it to show, but essentially we're talking about basically an extendable platform that's going to come out of the back of the Burb.
Yeah, the typical bed slide, well, the heavy duty one that I'm looking at can hold up to 3,000 pounds. So you can put, 10 guys on that thing and cantilever it all the way out.
It sounds super cool. I'm trying to picture it not bending,
Oh, it won't bend.
It won't bend. Okay. So you could put anything from extra supplies to a turret on there.
Yep.
That sounds exceptionally fun.
Vroom, vroom. You guys ready?
Big Burb, Big Bad Burb.